And welcome back to another edition of the John Wayne Surge Protector Podcast, a 60/40 production. I'm Eric Halsey.
And I'm Alex Midway, and jumping right on in, we're going to do a Tesla ticker. Yesterday's 221. It got as high as 260 today, but then came right back down a little bit, 247, which is still higher than 221, if my Common Core math is correct. So flip off a Cybertruck. You got your homework.
Yeah. They'll go back down. I can assure you.
Not a doubt in my mind. We're going to be talking about guns today. It's one of the things that the DOJ and the ATF did on Monday is roll back a few things. So before we start sounding like we're liberal hippies, let's go talk about our experiences with guns. Eric, you want to start us off? What are your thoughts?
Well, being a child raised by 80s action movies, I absolutely love guns until I finally got to shoot one, and I was responsible enough to just, honestly, it makes you feel like God. It's amazing, and some people don't ever need to feel that way.
I personally love them. I own a couple myself. I spent time in the military. We got to shoot them, and we did it responsibly. I personally think that responsible gun ownership, more Americans should do it. And as of late, a lot of my blue-leaning friends have been coming up to me like, hey, man, thinking about getting a gun. And I fully support it. It properly managed, and if you actually take the classes to it, everybody should have a gun in their household. No one's breaking into your house if they know everyone and their mother's got a gun. It's a good deterrent. There's no need to use it as the first thing that you do is just stand your ground and George Zimmerman everybody. That's the other end of the spectrum. But yeah, you should have one in the house. That's my personal view on it.
I agree. I think in the house is great. What I don't love is the need to be like, oh, I'm going to go get some McNuggets. But there's too many brown people out there. But I need my gun to go to McDonald's. It's ridiculous.
The open carry states where just a bunch of dudes in Hawaiian t-shirts showing up around parading with their ARs and just walking loot crates essentially, paying no attention to the outside world, just knock them in the back of the head. Next thing you know, you got yourself a firearm. But that one I don't get. The whole you can't infringe my rights. Shut up. You don't need a rocket launcher. Americans don't need that much stuff. Yeah, you should have some weapons. I understand that, but there should be some responsibility from us as gun owners to actually look out for people who are not gun owners. Stop calling yourself a sheepdog and be like, I can't wait 7 days to get another AR. You already got 20 of them, man. You got more ARs than fingers. So shut up.
If you can't wait 7 days for your gun, you might be the problem.
We're going to go into a few things, just a couple of cases on that today. But the reason we're talking guns is because on Monday, the DOJ and the ATF rolled back a policy instituted by Biden called zero tolerance policy. And they just keep unrolling everything, and anything positive, negative that previous administrations have done, they just keep going back on it. So what this policy was introduced back in 2021. And it told the ATF that they could revoke the licenses of gun dealers who willfully broke the law. So that part is actually very important. If you're actively trying to circumvent gun laws, and two of the things that it mentioned in there was falsifying records and not doing a background check. I don't know, man. A gun store should look for people's background check. Your boss at McDonald's calls your references. The gun store should see if you've been in the nutty bin. Just my view.
Well, personally, I think if there's a victim of gun violence and you can track that gun, assuming that still has serial numbers on it, to where it got sold, you should be able to sue that place. And you know what? That problem will fix itself.
Yeah, we backed off on that one too. So that never passed, but that'll be another episode. So wonderful Attorney General Pam Bondi. The prior administration's zero tolerance policy unfairly targeted law-abiding gun owners and created undue burden on Americans seeking to exercise their constitutional right to bear arms. It ends today. Now, I live in a blue state. We have a couple gun shops, not rampant like Starbucks is in Washington back in the heyday, but they're everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but I can cite at least 3 of them off the top of my head. Not a single one of them is closed. If I wanted a gun right now, I'd have no problems getting a gun. So let's go over what it would take for me to get a gun. And there's a big difference between long guns, which is ARs, and handguns. Handguns are going to be a little bit tougher. So a long gun is relatively, it's tough. You need a background check, and that's it.
End of list.
Yeah. You can drop bodies from a much longer distance with a long gun than a pistol, but the pistol has more stringent stuff. I guess it's the whole concealing thing or something else, but I don't know, man. If you can unload on people at a much higher rate of speed, I feel like that should have a bigger wait time, but it doesn't. So now let's talk about a pistol. So for a pistol, you need a handgun qualification license, and you got to do fingerprints and a total of how many hours of safety courses do you think you need?
Well, considering, you're holding life and death in your hands at like standard clips, like 12, 16, something like that. It's probably like 12 hours.
It's a third of that. It's less of the time you would spend to go drive a car. But wait, it gets even better. So you need the actual fingerprints. You got to go down and get those things done, and you need the safety course. But there are loopholes to the safety course requirement. I personally didn't have to do one just because they think once you're in the military, they'll teach you a little bit about guns. You'll know more. Understandable. Another one is if you're a firearms instructor. How you become a firearms instructor without taking a safety course is freaking beyond me. It's kind of a chicken or the egg thing, like which one has to happen first. But moving right along. And the last thing, and this was hilarious, if you already own a regulated firearm. So some examples of regulated firearms, and all these are essentially long guns, is a Colt AR, like your traditional AR. A Mossberg Model 500 bullpup assault shotgun. And honestly, I Googled this one. This thing actually looks pretty badass. I want one now. But another thing that if you already own, but you can actually waive a whole safety requirement, is a Barrett Light 50 cal semi-auto. Now take a moment, and if you got a chance, go ahead, pause everything, and go type in Barrett 50 cal into your Google browser. That is a sniper rifle that we used to essentially employ for light-skinned vehicles. Why a human being not in a combat zone needs one is beyond me. But if you already bought one, you can technically bypass the whole safety course, and now you can have a Barrett and a pistol and an assault shotgun and not have any effing idea what you're doing.
That's a grandfather law situation.
And the fact that you can have an assault shotgun and a sniper rifle. I don't want to hear this whole argument like, this is BS, the kind of guns we can get. Like, bro, you're able to go buy a 50 cal sniper rifle. Like, stop
it. And you know what? If you're so heartbroken over having, well, no, you don't even have to take a class for that, right? Even if you did. Even if you didn't, for the long guns, for the 50 cal, yeah.
If you want a 9mm pistol, you're taking a class. If you want to touch somebody almost a mile away, that's essentially a background check.
Now, if you need a gun like that, chances are you're not a great person, and you probably have you probably have some different issues you should work on first.
What's the one movie? It was Billy Madison where I think he calls him
people to kill list.
He's like, yeah, no, man, no big deal. I don't even think about it.
I work with a lot of conservatives, and guns comes up all the time. And every time they start talking about their Second Amendment rights, all I can think of is Steve Buscemi putting on lipstick every time.
If they spent the time at the range actually training and getting some trigger time, the same amount of time that they spent complaining about the Second Amendment, it'd be a lot more reasonable. But if you spend more time complaining than you do actually training, shut up.
Oh, well, that's their deal. Let's complain about made up problems instead of fixing current ones.
Price of eggs too high? Let's go. Let you go buy some guns.
I blame the NCAA trans athletes.
Yeah. Thank God that they got a very horrible laugh. That's why we have a dictator in power. But it is what it is. At least the black broad isn't in power. God, I hate this. But anyways, going back to this whole thing, for the studies that people did, as far as the enforcement of this whole zero tolerance policy, some stores did get yoked up for minor infractions. I don't know what the full story about it is, whether it's actual abuse by the ATF or those minor infractions were actually underlying causes of something else. But the majority of the stores that were shut down, and it wasn't that many stores, but there was about 150 of them, I believe, shut down last year. And if you think about that in an entire country, like that's probably in one county in Texas, but shut down that little over the fact that they were repeatedly not doing background checks and missing inventory. Like those should be red flags. And the fact that the ATF now can't do that, be like, oh no, you're missing a couple assault shotguns and a Barrett. Like our hands are tied. See you next week.
Just ignore the problem.
Yeah. So another thing that essentially the DOJ and the ATF are considering rolling back, and its zero tolerance policy was actually based on Bipartisan Safer Community Act. Honestly, it was in 2022. I don't know how bipartisan it was. I mean, we haven't had bipartisan bills in a long time, but that's what it was called. And one of the things it's clarifying, and you let me know if this sounds so wonky that it needs to get repealed, is like who's in the business of selling guns. So if you're into selling, if your full-time job is selling guns for profit, you need to be licensed and do background checks. So essentially, I mean, if you're selling guns 9 to 5, you're not a collector anymore. You can't just go to these stupid gun shows and be like, oh, well, you know, it's I'm not a gun shop, so I technically don't have to do it. It's like, bro, that's how you put food on the table.
Yeah, it's not a side gig.
Yeah, the guy who makes ribs on the weekend then decides to open up a barbecue spot, he's going to be subject to health evaluations, make sure there's not roaches. If the guy who sometimes buys a pistol starts peddling ARs and selling Barretts, then he should probably follow some guidelines too.
If I mow my grass on Saturday because I'm, a decent neighbor, then I'm just a guy. Yeah. If I do this 9 to 5 to other places, I am a landscaper.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I try to get rid of. It makes no sense. Like if this is what you do for a living, you should have to do background checks. And that's not infringing on anyone's rights. If you need to buy a gun, but you can't pass a background check, that's on you. But that's Mel Gibson also, who.
So just assuming this gets repealed, if I go out into a terrible part of the city and buy a gun just from some guy on the street, then that's fully legal then now, right?
That's right. He's just an actual
He's collector.
That's between two fellas.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Yeah, one of the things, apparently Mel Gibson just got his right to own a gun back when he beat the living snot out of it was either girlfriend or wife, so they took it away, and then he tried to, there's apparently a judge you could appeal to get your guns rights back, and he appealed to her, and she's like, no, dude, you're not getting your guns back. And guess who's currently unemployed?
Is it Mel Gibson?
Well, it's Mel Gibson and that judge because she got fired. So one of the other things that I found out, and they're trying to undo, and this is wild. And, okay, so there's something called the boyfriend loophole. let's get into this. So 1996 domestic violence offender gun ban. It barred accused and convicted domestic abusers. So essentially, if you go out there and you beat the snot out of your wife, you beat the snot out of your husband, you pretty much can't have guns. But the whole thing about it is, technically, you're not allowed to buy any more guns, but there's nothing written in there that says you have to give up your guns. Now, 10 states mandate that domestic violence misdemeanors turn over guns. So essentially, 10 states said, no, man, that's not enough. We got to go ahead and tell you to turn over guns. And 15 states require that if a result of that actual domestic violence, there's a restraining order, then you turn in your guns. Can you imagine? Well, can you guess what happened when people try to pass this law on a federal level?
Well, it's infringing their rights.
Crashed and burned. They shot that thing down quicker. So that's all gone. But the wildest thing about this whole thing is there's an actual difference between domestic violence and how you qualify for being domestically violent. So let's say me and you are living together. We've never been married, and we are just two little gays in love, and we love each other, and we're in a relationship. And you beat the snot out of me. At that point, that will only be abuse, because you and I are not married, and we haven't been married, and we don't have a child. So if someone's just dating someone and gets knocked the F out, they will just be labeled as an abuse in the system. So now that person can go out and go get a gun, because when the FBI runs a background check, it doesn't say domestic violence, which will actually disqualify you, even though you beat the snot out of someone you're living with domestically. Yeah, so something to think about. That blew my mind.
Well, now, what if you're pregnant? Right? Okay. Just conceived. Then I knock you around. Now, if I'm not mistaken, life begins at conception.
First of all, we'd have to go back to science class and find out how this happened. Because I don't think between us we're having a baby together.
Science always finds a way.
Come on. I didn't grow anything else. Remember the one chick, she was in Texas, and when they repealed Roe versus Wade, and she's just like flying down the HOV lane. Cop pulls her over, is like, what the hell? You're here by yourself. She's like, no, I'm not. Got my kid with me.
Yep, I love it.
So, yeah, I don't know how it is. Most likely it doesn't apply, because then that would be taking away somebody's gun laws. And I don't know. Kids don't matter at that point. When you have to pick between guns and kids, it's 11 out of 10 times it's going to be that AR in the corner versus a little kid.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Not so much, in the nice areas, but I'm sure Texas and Florida, makes perfect sense.
A recent Uvalde survey found.
Yeah.
God bless those little patriots standing outside the classroom.
Oh, well, at least they have all those thoughts and prayers to protect them.
That's exactly what they said in the conference afterwards. Like, You guys don't do anything about it. It's like, we're not having a knee-jerk reaction to this. Knee-jerk reactions of those kids dying in a classroom as the last thing that they do when someone's rampaging around the halls. Like, well, we can't stop guns. Like, you're doing all right stopping abortions. You're writing laws against those.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody needs a gun so badly, because all I ever hear is a good guy with a gun. It'll always be the solution to a bad guy with a gun. And for somehow, some way, God and his thoughts and prayers to him never make their way into that equation. It's almost like it's just a BS argument to not care.
So that's my whole bit on the, honestly, we can just keep running this episode for God knows how long on guns. But that's just some of the things that I looked into after researching the repeal of that zero tolerance. And I guess we're definitely addressing the things that Americans really care about. Just having more gun rights. And since he can't afford eggs anymore, he can put that money towards guns. So he can then go kill somebody with eggs.
Now, see, you've got that hope in your eyes, like this was April 1st. I decided to look into to the whole tariff situation. Right? I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I did a little digging. April 2nd. Our fearless leader declared it Liberation Day. And all of our markets did their best impression of a hippo on roller skates and absolutely crashed. So the word crash doesn't really capture the essence of this ridiculous catastrophe. But as you know, I barely graduated high school, so that's the best you're getting out of this cunning linguist. But after a week of failing miserably, our fearless leader today called a ceasefire to his trade war that he 100% started and said, we're going to do a 90-day pause on these new tariffs. Cough, except for you, China. End cough.
Yeah,
you know what? If only 40% of the world's mad at us now. Okay, we'll take it. But it got me thinking, where did this whole dumb idea of tariffs solving our problems come from? And we all know it basically caused the giant crash in 1929, which ended with us in a depression. So I did a little research. And back in the no way is Trump actually going to win this thing days of 2016, he wins and he shows up and he goes, all right, thanks for the keys, Obama. How much of your cabinet's sticking around? Because again, he had no clue how this was going to work. So he's sitting there freaking out going, all right, I got to get a cabinet together. We got to get people, hired. So when you're rock bottom and you don't have anything you can depend on, there's always one thing you look to, and that's, like Vin Diesel says, that's family. So he rips his page out of the Fast and Furious books and he turns to his son-in-law Jared Kushner and he goes, Jared, you look like a weasel. Go find me an economist. Jared, probably being half moron because this is exactly what I would have done, turns to Jeff Bezos. Not to ask him directly, but to go on to Amazon.com and type economy, book. He said, find me someone, right? So he's looking around through book titles and he stumbles upon one that catches his eye called Death by China. And he goes, this looks great. So he does a little digging and goes, yeah, this title seems cool. So he cold calls the author, Peter Navarro, and goes, hey, you want a really prestigious job? Sight unseen. Yeah, I said it. That's exactly what happened. Peter Navarro becomes Trump's senior counselor for the economy and the real driving force behind all this tariff nonsense. And I've never heard his name before until earlier this week when old Uncle Elon got mad at him and called him a moron and said he was dumber than a sack of bricks. So things are going well over there.
That's insane how he got the job because he was just on there and he just had a book published.
Well, he had numerous books published.
Oh. Sidebar. Do we know a good Jared? Because I know Jared Fogle from Subway and I know Jared Kushner from being a slumlord.
No. The only two Jareds I know were Subway spokesman turned pedophile and honestly not sure which Jared I dislike more.
I feel like it's the kid diddling one.
I don't know. It's close. It
did bring peace to the Middle East, apparently, but something Gaza.
Yeah, exactly. So this Peter Navarro psycho is hell-bent, right, on tariffs is the key. Even though it didn't work and caused a depression, it could work now. So he's pounding out books, numerous books, and in 5 of them, he cites world-renowned economist Ron Vera to boost up his, to co-sign his thoughts on tariffs. Said, yeah, Ron Vera. That's all it is. We'd reach out and ask Ron Vera about it, but it turns out he doesn't exist. Not a real guy. Turns out Ron Vera is an anagram of his last name, Navarro. He just made up an economist to cite to get a little check mark right next to his little ideas.
You got to try a little bit harder, man. Like, if I tell you that Alex Bidway is coming on the show tomorrow, like, that's my effing name. Like, you're using the exact same letters. At least use, like, a pen name.
No. That's the beauty of it. You take your name, and then you mess it around, kind of like Axl Rose did from Guns N' Roses. Only that guy doesn't suck. Imagine all the horrible things he's done.
Take him over tomorrow.
So, faking your resume and somehow failing upwards to become the senior counselor of the economy to President Trump seems pretty on point for this administration. It's scary, but it's true. And in related news, world-renowned advertisement expert Lacey Shire is vigorously calling for this podcast as the next Joe Rogan experience without all the ick and women repellent kind of vibe with it. So contact us ASAP and get in on the ground floor. Also, don't Google Lacey Shire. It has definitely not an anagram for Eric Halsey.
Well, they'll sell you antler juice or whatever the hell they're peddling out there.
Hey, and you know what? Gun freaks will delete this episode if we can sell your deer piss or whatever you spray on yourselves.
I mean, I told you I got guns. We can be on the same page. Like, I just don't think it's unconstitutional if I have to wait a week to get another gun. Just me.
I mean, I can kill as many people with a car, and they made me get a driver's license.
Yeah. It's wild. None of this makes sense anymore. But anyways, tell your friends. Come listen to our show. We need more listeners. So either that or we got to start selling dog fornicating videos on Instagram. That's an earlier episode.
I'll record.
I'll watch from the corner.
All you'll see is the orange glow of my cigarette.
Why are those hands moving? I can't see your other hand.
Also, if that lady has access in jail, we'll have you on. Just email us.
So on a good note.
I'd love to get your take on the economy.
Yeah. Hey, she's making $500 a vid.
Can you do OnlyFans in jail?
Yeah. You can, but it's not recorded. You can whether you want to or not.
I'm going to click subscribe. Oh, no.
Ask our boy in El Salvador if he's making any videos.
Jeez.
Update. There is no update. He's still down there.
Oh.
Anyways, don't get into a van. I'm Alex Midway.
I'm Eric Halsey.
Daddy, chill.
Later, Gators.